Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Jordan. I'm the coordinator for the Center for Teaching and Learning here at SCTCC. It's great to have you. We are going to start a series today that we were talking with our host, Susan Engel here, one of our instructors, and she will be instructing us in some quality online teaching strategies. Today, we are looking at regular and substantive interaction, RSI. Get to know this. You need this, and it's going to make your classes better for your students and more fun for you. Susan, hi, welcome.
Hi,
Tell us about
Mary.
RSI.
Yes, I will just start by saying that RSI is something that we will all be working with in our online and hybrid courses. I will focus on that specifically. And the outcomes of this short session with Mary and I will be helpful to have you be able to identify what constitutes RSI and then develop or modify your own RSI. For those of you who are teaching in online and hybrid courses, I'm guessing you've already incorporated much of this, but we want to be intentional about what we are doing. So today, that's what we are talking about. The short slide at the start just talks a little bit about what's at stake. This is actually a federal requirement. The online courses must meet the US Department of Education's requirements for RSI to qualify or for students to qualify for financial aid. The courses are tied to financial aid, and distance education is not the same as correspondence courses. What we are teaching are distance education courses, and distance ed requires RSI for students to be able to receive federal financial aid.
Financial aid is good. We want that to happen.
Financial aid is good. So we will take a look at RSI, what constitutes RSI, and how we can incorporate it in our classes to be helpful to our students with their federal financial aid and the regulations. This little grid just shows you a little bit about how correspondence education is different from distance education. And distance education, what we are doing, works with graded assignments and feedback, weekly announcements that interact with content, video lectures that incorporate discussion, instructor-initiated discussions, office hours, both having and maintaining, and then also assessments with instructor feedback. We'll talk about each of these individually, and we know that our D2L tools help immediately with much of this.
If you're not feeling confident in your D2L skills, there are a lot of people on campus you can talk to. Get in touch with me and I will refer you, or talk to your dean and they will tell you who the best person is so that you feel confident with D2L.
Yes, absolutely. And I will also mention that Alex Roski is fantastic. So if you are interested in any of the tools or want to know how to maximize some of the tools in D2L, Alex will be very helpful for you. So regular and substantive interaction, what is regular interaction? It's something that's predictable and scheduled. And we talk about it in terms of it being a weekly sort of interaction. And many of us will do more than weekly. And it includes actively monitoring students' academic engagement in the course and their success, and engaging with students when warranted. For example, reaching out to a student who is not participating or whose work quality is below a certain level, and also responding to student requests. The S in RSI, substantive interaction, includes of five of the following. And I will mention that the first one, hybrid and synchronous classes, automatically fulfill that, but our asynchronous online classes do not fulfill number one. So for asynchronous classes, we need to meet two of the remaining four. So number two is assessing or providing feedback on student work. Number three is providing information or responding to questions about course content specifically. This does not include just interactions back and forth about a due date or how to put something in the D2L assignment folder. Number four is facilitating a group discussion regarding course content, and that includes asynchronous discussions when we are present, when instructors are present. And number five is other instructional activities approved by SCTCC or our program's accrediting agency.
Now, I'm going to say I've been an instructor for a while and I've taught online. And I think all of this is great. I struggle with number four sometimes and trying to facilitate the group discussions. I've talked with other folks about this, and I feel like for sometimes with my students, when I post a comment, the students are like, "Oh, well, then that's it," and they stop discussing. Do you have any suggestions on how we can keep that going?
Sometimes it's just being in there and asking another question or pushing, challenging a little bit further. And sometimes it's also taking a step back and waiting for 24 hours while students are beginning to interact with each other. So those are some tips.
That makes sense. Yeah, teaching is hard, folks. You're not imagining it. This is hard to do well. You can do it, though. We have confidence in you.
Okay, so on my next screen, RSI tools. We can apply Quality Matters, and Mary and I will have other videos that are available about Quality Matters, especially the expectations in General Standard 1, the module outcomes as overview in 2.2, and your plan for RSI in Standard 5.3. We can put into action D2L tools and consider using the D2L template, which is also available to us. And we can employ the online syllabus template, and we'll create, or we have another video for that as well.
I will so say, as somebody who spent so much time online teaching without templates and every semester had to recreate every single thing. Oh, people, if you have a template, use it. Make your life easier. Sorry, I'm just very enthusiastic about this. Use the templates. It's to make your life easier. And again, we're thinking about the students. I work with students from all across the campus, and they struggle with finding things on your D2L page. I'm pointing to you specifically. So come, use the templates, make your life easier. It also makes the student's life easier.
Yes,
Sorry,
those templates are
I'm
created specifically
enthusiastic.
for us at SCTCC. The online is specific to D2L, and the online syllabus is specific to SCTCC and our policies. So one of the pieces that would count as RSI is office hours. We do by contract have regularly scheduled office hours. And when we maintain those office hours, we are adhering to RSI. A tip, if you're fully online, you might provide the specific login information or make your Zoom link one click away in your D2L shell. Maybe that's within your announcements and in your syllabus, a couple of places that students are able to find that easily.
That is important, and that is part of our union contract that we have office hour. In addition, of course, it's good practice. If you're not sure how many hours you need to have, you need to check, either look at the contract, talk to one of your union reps, or again, talk to your dean, and they'll be able to help you because different folks across the campus have different requirements. You want to make sure you're hitting yours. You don't want some small thing to get you messed up and to mess up your students.
So in between each of these suggestions, I will just allow an opportunity for you to pause and discover how or where might you post your virtual office hours for RSI. And I'll also mention, of course, at any point in this session, feel free to pause, write notes, make some changes, add whatever you might need in your online classes.
So
The
Susan, being
discussion.
interactive with your presentation is the way to go with a presentation about being interactive. I like it. Oh, see, she's a good instructor, folks. That's why she's telling us things.
Another of the tools is D2L discussion tool. So ideas, introductory discussion in which you participate. In fact, this at the start, if you are having students introduce themselves, interact with each other, it's also important for us to be in and interact and welcome them to class, welcome them to the online environment. Maybe recording a video lecture on a specific course content or a module, which I know a number of us do. And then to add some RSI is to add opportunities for student response, maybe post the videos in addition to in your announcements or a content page, maybe in the discussion tool as well. Let students interact with each other about the content and with us as instructors.
I will
Another idea.
say, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to go back to your initial part there about the introductory discussion. I have had great, because it's hard for people to get started and sometimes it's their first class. I've had really good luck in that first day of, I say, everybody post a picture of the place where you're generally going to work, because I think everyone can take a picture now. They're all really good at it, youth today. Um, but that's kind of nice. And then we see, and it's like, oh, are those your cats? Tell us your cat's names. Is that your kid? We hold your toddler up. We're going to want to see your toddler if you feel comfortable sharing. It makes us all feel like we're a little bit more connected, and you want to build that connection with your RSI work.
Yes, it's important for the building the online community or building community in the online environment. You could also have students post current events relating to the content of your course that you monitor, that we monitor and respond to.
That's a really good idea.
And then another is having a Q&A discussion forum that's open all semester. And I know different instructors have talked about the ways that they do this. You could have one for all students, and then students can comment and respond, and we can comment and respond. And other times instructors will have individual Q&As attached just to a single student, that student knows that they can go in all semester, ask questions of me as the instructor, and then I can respond directly to them without other students being in the forum. So there are a few ways to do this.
That's really interesting, and I've never heard of that, and so that's something, though, that would just be private, and I can set that up as an instructor.
Yes. And again, I will tout Alex Roski can help with
Oh,
setting up any
Alex.
of those. He's awesome. So really, it's the active monitoring and responding that ensures this substantive interaction, the S in RSI. Again, this might be a pause here. How might you use the discussion tool for RSI? Think about it, jot down some notes,
Grab your
affirm what you
notebook.
already do.
I've got my notebook. I'm ready. I'm ready to take notes.
The D2L announcement tool is also great for RSI. Ideas include using text or written or video announcements or combinations of all. Maybe offer an overview content summary of a module or a week after you've gone through the module. Just summarize some of the content that you've gone through, summarize what students have written about, summarize what you have found in the content as students have responded to it. Clarify an assessment as it relates to content. Tell of a current event as it relates to course content. You're seeing the common thread is about content in the course and not just due dates. I
Yeah, I
wrote,
like that. Because, yeah, I mean, being able to kind of give that feedback. I've done that at the end of the week and say, oh, so it looks to me like, we really everyone was stuck over here. Point B, nobody really got that. So let me just take this moment to talk about that a little bit more. That could be helpful.
yes, clarifying, summarizing, taking the course content and interacting with it in a way. So the note at the bottom, announcements that meet RSI guidelines are more substantive than reminders or just that to-do list. So I think, Mary, this might be a dated screenshot of the library, but I'm
Still works.
still works. And I had used this
The
in
library.
my writing classes, promoting the library, the databases very specifically. So in the announcements tool, we have lots of opportunities to incorporate RSI. And one of the pieces that I wanted to just write in here or just point out is that my first part of the announcement referred back to last week. The class worked overall with last week's summary response essay, showed accurate work with the formatting, some beginning work. Take a look more at the annotations. We want to be looking at all of this. The databases at the library are great. The web page is helpful. And then at the bottom of this, I have highlighted, please ask any questions in the Q&A discussion forum labeled week 3. And this doesn't have to be by week. It can be an overall Q&A. It might be just about the databases, but offer some opportunities for interaction for students. And you can mention these in your announcements tool.
And I'm going to say, I love this, right? I'm pointing at my screen where you're being very specific. This Q&A week 3, go here. Again, I mean, I've taught for a long time. I've been teaching for, I don't know, more than 15 years, going on 20 years. We forget what it's like to not know how all of this just works instinctively. Remember that your students do not. They need direction. They need this kind of information. So yeah, the over label things. You're not going to be wrong in doing that.
Yes, the directness is really helpful. And here too is where the templates I think can be helpful because some of that direct and over labeling is happening as an example for us.
And I'm just going to, as the librarian, I'm just going to say you should definitely be using the library a lot.
So here's a pause again. How might you use the announcements tool for RSI? I will move into the assignments tool in D2L. Feedback, giving feedback, offering feedback. We have multiple ways to do this. Within the annotations tool, we can bring up an assignment and actually write specific and direct feedback based on what the student has submitted using the annotations. Mary, when I use my pointer, can you see that on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. And then also we've got the feedback comments, and you can see here we can attach something. We can do an audio feedback, we can do a video feedback, and we can do text feedback. Again, making this specific to the student's work, the content, offering some helpful tips, telling what they have really done well, and then maybe also offering some hints about what they may be looking at in the future is good RSI practice.
Well, and
Specific and detailed feedback.
this is gonna, I love all of these, all the options to have the different tools. That's gonna save you so much hassle. I mean, obviously it's good that the students also understand what they did wrong. But I mean, if your students are like mine, my students come to me like waving a paper or their computer and saying, but I work so hard. Why didn't I get an A? And that always, I feel like I didn't explain well enough. And sometimes they're just great grubbers. But having these different tools, I feel like that does help them understand what's going on, and it saves them from, I don't want to say pestering you, but from pestering you pointlessly because they do understand what happened.
Yes, yes.
And
And
then
I think,
obviously interact later. I'm not trying to imply
yes.
you should not.
And with the annotations tool and the feedback, sometimes we as instructors just need to remind students to go back into that, be sure that it's read. We can see when they have read the feedback and lots of reminders on where they can find that, where they can find the feedback within the annotations tool. And the feedback is really helpful too.
And I've never seen that, like having just a quick video. That might be really, I mean, you don't have to make really high quality videos. Just if you could just click that and just 30 seconds say, overall, I really like this. And when you work a little bit more on your grammar, this will be perfect. I would
Yes,
love that. That would be
yes.
so nice.
And it personalizes everything too. So you can still have your
Right.
text feedback or your written feedback, but also having that audio or that video in really does help personalize. So feedback from students for RSI. So a student may contact us or we will contact students. We can email, we can meet with students, we can use the D2L survey tool. There are a number of tools that we can use to interact or facilitate that interaction, feedback from giving feedback to and from students. So questions to ask. What did you learn from a unit? What challenges are you facing? What barriers might you be experiencing to the learning? Even what is success to you? Some of these come from equity by design. What experiences are you having in this course? Any of that kind of interaction will help promote student success and also fits within RSI.
Well, and I'm also just going to add kind of off to the side of this, as AI becomes an increasingly used tool by both faculty and students, it's these are not things that an AI could answer in any meaningful way. So if your students being unfair to their learning by using AI is a concern for you, this kind of interaction, this kind of regular interaction, I do think it's going to encourage them. So this is great.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Mary. I'll pause here. How do you or how might you use D2L feedback tools for RSI? Again, a lot of what we are talking about today many of you, most of you, all of you are using. It's just being intentional with how we are using it and really being aware of the tools and how it fits in RSI.
I think being able to explain to the students also what you are doing. I, I find, I mean, students are smart. They know that they are in class. And if you tell them, I am doing this specific thing because I want to be sure you have this specifically good experience, it lets them know they're not just sitting here. We're all participating. It helps.
It all helps. So the content tool, and content is materials and content. You could have a module video that discusses the learning within a unit or a module or the week objectives. And I just put in here too, quality matters. This meets quality matters standard 2.2. Seek out the Quality Matters video for more on this. Materials, which is Quality Matters Standard 4.1, and assessments or assignments, which is Quality Matters Standards 3.1. And then again, a discussion topic could monitor student questions and interactions about anything that they are finding in the content tool. The template, and I'll just make one more plug for this, the D2L template will be helpful in structuring the content as well.
Use the template. I'm not the boss of you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you to do it. I'm strongly suggesting.
Strong suggestions. And here, again, a pause. If you want to jot down some ideas, how do you or might you use the content tool for RSI? So Mary and everybody at home, I will ask some questions. Would the following
Help me out, team.
qualify as RSI? So I will have a few situations and you will say yes or no.
All right, we're going to work together here, team.
Would auto-graded quizzes qualify as RSI?
I'm going to say, based on the information that we've had here, I think no.
And you are correct. The answer is no, because there is not an interaction with that, and it is not specific and detailed feedback for the students. Auto-graded quizzes are wonderful because they do give immediate kind of feedback in a real general way. So don't stop doing your auto-graded quizzes, but you will also incorporate some of the specific and detailed feedback as well.
I'm going to put in a small plug for the auto-graded quizzes because in the library, I see a lot of students doing those. And I have had multiple students jump up and say, I got an A right there. So that is nice. But again, it can't be
Yes.
everything. But for me, thank you for doing it for me because it's fun that I get to enjoy the students.
Yes, yes. And in
All right.
fact, the auto-graded quizzes where students might have an opportunity to take a quiz a second time based on that auto-graded feedback is also a best practice. So don't stop doing these. We're just saying it wouldn't necessarily qualify for RSI. It's a great
Sure.
best practice. What about putting an assignment grade without feedback in the grade book? Would that qualify as RSI, Mary, and viewers at home?
And all the group, all of us, let's think about this together, team. Now, I'm going to say for me, it would be so much easier if I could just go through and just put a grade into the grade book and not have to discuss it. But that feels like not the best result for my students. I'm going to say no.
And no is the correct answer here too. And it's
Team,
the
we're doing
specific
great.
feedback. Yes. And students need grades. So we will put an assignment grade in the grade book, but we will also work to have specific feedback and detailed feedback in the grade book for students to be able to progress. Would encouraging students to participate in an optional online review session qualify as RSI? This we
Mhm.
didn't talk a lot about, so spend a little bit of time thinking about it.
This is interesting because it does feel like, a good thing that we have an optional online review session. Am I leading this or are they working together?
You would be leading this, or
Okay.
they could be working together.
I kind of like either direction as a nice practice, but this doesn't necessarily feel like enough feedback for me, but I don't know. I feel uncertain, but I'm going to say no.
So no is the correct answer. And the
I'm so
key
good at
word in
this.
here is optional. So if this was,
Mm,
oops, and I'm giving you a little extra. If this
I didn't
was
see it. I didn't look, I promise. None of us looked. No one at home did either.
preview, the preview. So the key word in here is optional. If it was something that was offered for everybody and and it's part of a hybrid course, then certainly. And yes, again, this is good practice. It's even best practice to offer some of these, but the keyword is optional. And when it's optional and can't be available to everyone, then it does not necessarily fit RSI. Again, we encourage you to offer these, but it would not fit the RSI mold.
Well, and I'm just going to say, I thought that might be the key word there, but I did think that there was a possibility that this was a student-led thing because I
Oh,
am a believer in letting students work together to solve problems. But in that case, I'm not interacting with them, so I know it's a nice thing, but it's also not RSI. So
yes,
two
yes.
things can be
And
true.
again, I think we both are saying that all of these are best practices.
They would all be
Keep
great.
doing
Yeah,
them. They just don't necessarily qualify as RSI. So what about sending a reminder to all students about the attendance policy? Again, probably a best practice, right? But what do you think? Does this
sure.
qualify as RSI?
I was reading your previous slides, and so I do remember that just specific these kind of reminders about these basic things are not RSI, and I'm going to say no.
That is correct. So anything that would be simply any of the logistics. This is the due date. This is the attendance policy. We are letting students know that and we're reminding them, and that's all best practice, but that does not constitute RSI. There's not an extra interaction with the content.
Right. I'm a believer in doing that, and I am bad about remembering my own due dates. So I do like to, I set a bunch of reminders to go out without me having to remember it because I'm bad at it. And it helps the students. It helps me.
Yeah, yes, yes. And in fact, this again might be a best practice. Same thing, the announcement that tells of an upcoming due date. We help facilitate that for students. We put it in the calendar in D2L so that it pops up when they're in our course, but it does not qualify as RSI. Keep doing it, but it doesn't qualify as RSI. What about
Hmm.
posting a lecture video without a tie to the curriculum or to the content of the course?
I mean, I'm a librarian, so I got a lot of things to say. And I can yak on and on and on about pretty much anything, but it does seem like it's not going to be RSI if it's not tied to my course. I could post something, this is really interesting happening, but that's just a bonus. It's not my RSI work. I'm going to say no.
Yeah. And here too, you need the tie to the curriculum. This might be reminders. It might be the overview on how to use D2L. These are all best practices. Keep doing them. But because there's not a tie to the curriculum or the content, it doesn't qualify as RSI. And then what about only responding to student requests to meet without hosting regular office hours?
This drives me bananas when instructors don't have regular office hours. And I know that I regular office hours are often the time that students do not come to you. They come all the other hours of the day, but it's still important to have them. So I'm definitely going to say no and feel strongly about it.
Yes, and we want to respect the contract. So we do post and we do maintain regular office hours. And posting and maintaining regular office hours does qualify as RSI. So not hosting regular office hours would not. Great. You
We're
did
so
great,
good at
Mary.
this.
I think everybody
Team.
at home did great on this
We
too.
were honestly, as a team, we were all amazing. Good for us all. Round of applause.
So as a recap, just some summaries and some ideas. And again, these are ideas. You don't have to do all of them, but you might consider opening before the course starts, opening a development D2L shell to create your content. This way, as you are going through a course, you can work back in this development shell without live students and make changes as needed. This also offers you the opportunity to start developing a course well in advance of the semester beginning and before the live course is open for us. You can do that by sending an email to IT request at sctcc.edu. And there is a way also to set up yourself. And there is another short video on how to do this, so you can watch that. Consider reviewing and using the D2L template. Then review options for meeting the RSI guidelines. As you are starting your course, you're beginning your course, you've got your shell, you want to work that in. At the very bottom of this screen, I just put a couple of ideas. This is not a reminder. These are other short videos that you can watch to create your course syllabus using the optional syllabus template sample, and then also consider opening a self-review through Quality Matters as you design your course. You can watch the intro video about Quality Matters for this information. Then in the first week, respond to each student in the course introductions, discussions, or whatever discussion you have posted for that first week. Make sure that they are feeling welcomed and you have a firm presence. Have a continually open discussion Q&A forum and respond regularly. Hold your office hours, in person or virtual, according to the contract. Provide a Zoom link to virtual office hours. That whole idea of one click is really best for students, not making them search for something or continuing to type in. Reach out to students who have not started the course, and for this, you could consider using and personalizing D2L's Intelligent Agent tool. You can set up a meeting through IT, Alex Roski, to learn more about this.
That does seem really good. The things you can automate to make that small kind of background administrative stuff work, it frees you for the more important content.
Absolutely. Then during the semester, post regular announcements that anticipate and are responsive to student needs. Again, you might connect content to a current event or highlight student responses to a previous unit, just saying whatever certain number of students responded this way, or we're going to take more time with this based on what we are seeing as instructors. Facilitate discussion forums and topics and be present. Provide personalized feedback. You can use the annotations tool in D2L, audio or written feedback, comments, and detailed rubrics and written comments as well. And then create surveys for reflection and feedback of the course that you can follow up with to the class. So if you've got surveys throughout your course, you can report back to the class on just what you have found out.
The easiest way to find out what works for your students is just to ask them. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that.
Yes. So again, during the semester, keep the office hours, keep your regularly scheduled office hours, maybe hold a review session for an upcoming project or quiz. This is for hybrid and synchronous courses. Remember that that optional thing doesn't necessarily work for RSI, but if you are teaching a hybrid or a synchronous online class, holding review sessions can be very, very helpful and does qualify as RSI. Host a lecture and discussions that ask for student interaction and involves your monitoring and presence. Maybe initiate and interact in a discussion forum about a textbook reading or an online video or a current event. Keep up timely responses to student emails and instant messages, the IM feature tool on D2L. And then reach out to students who missed an assessment or who did not perform to standard on an assessment or in the class overall. We have Starfish for this as well.
And I'm, as again, somebody who's taught and been around schools for decades, that connection with the students, that makes a huge difference in whether your students finish your class, finish their program. They need to, if they're not connected to you and they feel like you don't care, they're out the door. And we don't want that. So
Yes.
the effort that you make is making a difference.
Yes, student success is what we have in mind when we're talking about RSI. So as the course wraps up, use the announcements tool to showcase learning or connect to future application of the course content. And again, you could hold a review session for the final exam. This is for hybrid and synchronous courses. Again, these are ideas. I guess I would just really encourage you to implement or modify 1 to 2 of your RSI ideas each semester. And that will lead to a strong course in the end.
Don't get overwhelmed with all of this. You don't need to be perfect at every single thing. Talk to me in the Center for Teaching and Learning, talk to your dean, and I know your deans are busy, but they want you to succeed. They're there for you. But I work with people across this campus, so I know personally that we have some really fantastic instructors in every single department. Talk to some of your fellow instructors, and I mean, don't be shy about saying, I don't know how this works. What did you do? They'll tell you, they'll give you ideas. I mean, this teaching is a teamwork activity. And yeah, we should all be doing more working together. And I'm just going to put in a plug. You should be coming to the library. Did you bring your students to the library this semester? Do that. Come on.
It is about teamwork. So if you have questions and comments, all of the sources that Mary had recommended, your deans, the more videos and so on, connect that in that way. Connect with C2L. I'm sorry, CTL. That's my combination of D2L and CTL.
I totally understood where we were going. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
all.
Susan, for putting all of
Yeah.
this together. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's session, and honestly, even if you didn't, come back because we're going to have a whole series of these videos, and we want to make sure that you feel confident in your teaching. That's the whole goal. Your confidence, that's going to carry over to everything else. So let's be awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.